welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment where we're looking back on our defeat to Manchester United. 3 defeats in a row it is now, and it's been not since the opening day of the season have we kept a clean sheet in the league, which is quite concerning as well. So it's really disappointing at the moment. It's been a disappointing period post into the last international break anyway. And now we go into another international break with 3 defeats on the bounce, which is horrific. And I'm joined by Owen and Terry for this. And it's so disappointing. I think even more so because of how well we started the season, wasn't it? I'll start with you, Terry. It makes it so much worse that we started so well and it's fell away so quickly.
It's more frustrating. I think if we'd have had the same results before this international break, but they were more spread out, wouldn't feel as bad. We're still in a good position in the league. It's just we're not in as good a position as being top of the league. So, anywhere after that was down. I do get what people like. People I think are overreacting a little bit. I don't think we've learned anything that we didn't already know going into these 3 games. That we've got a decent starting 11, but even one player comes out of that and we struggle massively with the drop-off. All the players who've come in the last 3 games to replace, various players, like Richarlison being the obvious one, the players who've replaced him, the players who've come in at right back, some, centre defence, they've all not been good enough. They've not, made the impression that they should have. But even the players who are in that ideal starting 11, their levels have dropped because they've been missing the players who aren't there. And I just don't think enough of the players have got the work rate, the graft to sort of, compensate for the lack of quality when the players got the team. So, I'm not losing my head over it. I think Man United have got some quality attacking players and they made the most of them. They did their own work on Everton, and our defence has been poor since the start of the season, I think, but we've been getting away with it because we've been scoring goals and creating a lot of goals. And when 2 of your front 3 are missing for games, and I don't think in the games that James has played that he's been entirely fit, the goals can't save the poor defence, and the poor defence has been exposed, especially against Man United, a good attacking team.
Yeah, I think for me, it's shocked me that we've defended so poorly since the start of this season. Why do you think that is, Owen? You're very big on your low block football. Is there any? Could you maybe shed some light on why you were struggling at the back?
It's just, I think what Terry said before we started recording. It's the little things, the basics like stopping crosses. We do this thing. I thought it was just exclusive to last season, but I know we bought Allen and Decore in the summer, but neither of them are sitting midfielders really. They like to go and get engaged the game. They like to win the ball back. Gomez or Sigurdsson are a complete non-entity of footballers defensively anyway. So if you've got Decore and Allen who are trying to sort of win the ball back higher up, there's this space between Michael Keane and Mason Holgate and Yerry Mina and the midfield where there's just a big massive space for the opposition to run in. Man United did it 3 or 4 times Saturday, to which they got the ball out wide from running in that space and put crosses in. They score from both of them, I think. It sometimes works like that when we've got no one to sort of mop up from. If we're going to have Allen and Decore and pressing and sort of getting the ball moving, we need a midfielder that stays in our half and has no intention of doing that. I know people don't like to wear it, but someone of the mould of Schneiderlin, not Schneiderlin, but
I was waiting for the Schneiderlin to be mentioned there.
But not even Schneiderlin. Someone like that, but much better and doesn't play like we're not paying him to be there. Someone who's actually interested in actually playing for Everton, but who can sit in front of that back four and not just also the defensive side, but start attacks. I think that people talking about this mythical attacking midfielder we're missing. It's absolute nonsense. We need to start keeping clean sheets because we scored on Saturday. We scored the first goal. And for me, once you scored the first goal in the game, you have to be at least getting the points. Crystal Palace have dropped about 2 points in about 40 games. They can score the first game because they know once they scored the first goal, that they know how to see it out and get wins and draws, and it's a way of playing that's successful. We've got better from coming from behind in the last year or so, but we really do need to be starting to see games out like that when we take the lead. It was just basic things that the whole midfield just pushed 10 yards too far forward, and the defence was too deep. So there was this big vacuum in the middle of the pitch for Bruno to operate in, and that's what won them the game.
Yeah, I think even on a bad day, you can't give Bruno Fernandes that kind of space, and we played right into their hands in that respect, I think.
Not just that, Rashford, Martial, all of them were just operating in the same space, and it was Alan didn't really stick to the task of being a whole midfielder. Gylfi Sigurdsson was half asleep, and Decore was trying to press in the opposition's half, so there's just loads of space everywhere. Add to that, Hammers is more of a wide forward who likes to affect the game in the final third, rather than someone who will be sort of restricted to a shape. Bernard worked hard, to be fair. No, I put a controversial tweet out about Bernard before the game and he scored. It kind of worked the way I hoped it would, but he did work hard. But then we don't stop crosses. There's a big gap between Holgate and Keane every time a ball came in the box. The keeper is just a troll. So, I mean, there's a whole host of factors why we aren't brilliant at the back, but that kind of like sticking to a shape, even if it's for 20 minutes once we've scored, just to take the sting out the game, I think it's really important. But we'll see how we get on against Fulham. But the defence is where I'm worrying at the moment more than scoring goals, because I think there's goals in the team. Calvert-Lewin, James, Richarlison when he's back. I still think Decore, I know he missed a couple of Gil's Hedge ones at the weekend, but he's still someone who gets in the position, so I've no doubt he'll score. We Dean and Coleman, you still would imagine they could pop up with goals. We've seen our centre-halves do it. For me, it's more to do with getting back to a way of playing defensively that helps us sort of see out games, and that's really important if we're going to be a team that's going to finish in the top 7 rather than a team that'll finish from 9th to 12th.
Yeah, I think for me the concern is I think we've definitely got a top 7 first 11. I think we're right up there in terms of the quality in our first 11, but this might be a bit outlandish, but I'd go as far as to say Fulham's second 11 is probably better than our second 11.
I don't know about that, because have you seen some of the cart horses that play for Fulham?
They'll probably beat us now.
Well, they're what they like, the rubbish.
But
but
honestly, I think it's just I think the point I'm making more than anything else is not that Fulham's second 11 are probably better than ours, but more if they were asked to do a job, they'd come in and do it. Whereas our second 11 just can't be bothered.
We'll put it this way: Fulham's starting wingers Ademola Lookman. Well, I would rather all our wingers over Ademola Lookman.
Really? even.
I would rather my grandmother over Ademola Lookman.
That is a statement and a half. That.
Did you see that penalty, by the way?
Yes, it is.
I wouldn't pay him this week. Honestly, ridiculous. Penalties in the last minute should be low and hard, but anyway. Right,
when you're like the Roy Keane and the Toffee Blues, aren't you? The no nonsense takes. What was it he was saying? I wouldn't let them on the team bus after the game. To hire
Maguire.
If I was Fulham manager, Ademola Lookman would still be around the London Stadium. Wow. Wow, honestly.
No, it's just one of them. It's very frustrating to see. Like, I think there are teams like Aston Villa and Southampton who have just got a better squad than we've got. Maybe not on paper, but
you say that though. But if Grealish doesn't play for Aston Villa, it's Conor Hourihane, and he's probably not even Championship level, is he? So we bemoan our squad level, but it's more to do with in key areas rather than the whole team, I would say. But
I don't even think it's a quality issue of the second, the second string players. they don't work hard when they come in. We've had 3 games where Richarlison, just use him as the example because he's been out for all 3. And Iwobi's come in, he's looked shocking. We've had Andre Gomez there, he looked shocking. Sigurdsson's been out wide as well, he looked shocking. And Bernard, he looked all right in the Man United game when he started, but you can't forget the substitute appearances he made in that time were awful. So none of them have grasped a chance. And I think that earlier in the season we were on this good run. The first 11 was really strong. It really, it really works well together. Barring a few odd positions where, goalkeeper, I don't really rate Pickford, and I think when all fit, Mina doesn't start over Holgate, although Holgate was terrible against Man United. But on the whole, the first 11 was strong at the start of the season. But I think the second string players sort of pulls a bit of a trick on the supporters, probably us included as well. As when we were playing lower league opposition, the Salfords and the Fleetwoods, all the second string looked great. Delph looked good, Bernard looked good, Sigurdsson against Salford even looked half decent at times. It's just now that they've come into Premier League games, everyone's expecting them to pull their weight, and they just reverted to type. They don't Sigurdsson. It's not all about him. Even good players like Allen and Decore and that were poor the other day, but Sigurdsson's still walking around a pitch every game, just pointing at people. I love Carlo to death, but I don't know what he sees in Sigurdsson. What does he see in Sigurdsson?
To be honest, I don't know what any manager who's ever managed him has ever seen in Gylfi Sigurdsson. Apart from scoring a few good free kicks, what did he ever even do anyway?
Yeah, but he's never scored a free kick for us since we signed him to be a free kick specialist about over 3 years ago now.
Well, you need to have a lot. For a £45 million player in the first place, you need a lot more to your game than free kicks.
Yeah,
but he has scored.
He scored a free kick.
He scored. He was against Blackpool in the pre-season, though. But he's technically scored one. Not scored a competitive free kick, but we paid £45 million.
Yeah, Icelandic statistician will have that one pinned up on his wall.
How do you know it's not me? But yeah, definitely not me. I'm the bizarro components of him, everything, the opposite. But it's not just him. You don't want to excuse, the players who didn't do it. Players I really like Holgate. It was crap the other day against Man United. Keane was awful as well. Honestly, it's just one of those things. I think, players coming out the team, when you've only got an 11, and it's still quite new, remember, 3 of the key players have still only been in the club in the matter of, weeks and months. It's not just the key players coming out of the team that you lose their quality. It has a ripple effect on the rest of the team. James and Dean and players like that, they've all suffered without Richarlison. And it's obviously that has any time that James is not having a good game, the whole team's going to feel it. And James can't have a good game without having that Richarlison, Luca Dean combination to pass to on the opposite flank. So if James isn't fit or he's having a bad game, the rest of the team really struggle. That's the way he set it up now. But because there's no quality underneath the first 11 or not in the right areas, we can't replace any of them. So if you look at our bench, people coming off the bench to try and change games, they haven't changed the game one jot.
No.
Any of them. Because they haven't got it in them.
It depends what you... For me, and for me, Anthony Gordon, I don't want to start banging the drum for a lad who really hasn't done a great deal while he's played for Everton. But if anything else, if he was playing on that left-hand side, he has a similar style of play to Richarlison. So for me, he would be night and day in the team because the fact that even his inclusion would lift others because of how Richarlison plays. He could get away with playing like Bernard or Iwobi, but it's a different type of style because he'd be looking to run beyond the back 4. So we wouldn't be looking so one-paced all the time because we'd have an extra runner. With having Bernard, I thought that's a decent game, but he was having a decent game within himself rather than for the team. And Iwobi isn't that type of player. We just look so one-paced every time we move the ball forward because we just couldn't create any opportunities because we didn't stretch them at all. It was just Man United will never have an easier 45 minutes in their lives that second half because we just moved the ball from one side to the other. It was like watching a Martinez team, to be honest. It was just so dull. It was unbelievable. But I suppose the options you've got. But for me, the biggest thing from these last couple of games is that Anthony Gordon, even though he might not be the answer in terms of quality, style of play-wise, he has to be at least the first sub. Well, he's got to be the first sub over Cenk Tosun. Wow. But anyway, Cenk Tosun's a different issue. It's more to do with how we play. I think it's restricting us, Richarlison not playing more than any other player because there's no one else like him.
Interesting, but can you imagine if there was fans in the stadium when he subbed James off for Tosun?
Yeah. I can understand him taking James off because he was off the pace slightly.
He didn't play well, but Tosun.
I'd rather James on with one leg than Cenk Tosun. So, yeah.
Tosun's just there as a warm body, really, isn't he? He's someone who if Calvert-Lewin takes a knock, he's going to come on and sort of like so he can protect him. And on games where there's literally nothing else to do, throw him up there. Having an extra striker might make room for Calvert-Lewin. I used to be clear, quite like Cenk Tosun. I didn't think he was a world beater by any means, but I thought he was better than the reputation he had amongst the fan bases. But he's sort of like he's not done a lot, has he, since he's come back? But I think he's got a role to play very short term. Like he's come back from this injury, and he come on against Newcastle, and he's come on against Man United, and he may as well not been there. He's come on, and you haven't heard his name again since he came on as a substitute.
No, I was just saying we could have played until now, and with Cenk Tosun on the pitch, and he wouldn't have had a shot because he just didn't get in the game. I'm not going to blame him specifically, but the decision to loan Moise Keane out to keep Cenk Tosun and not have any other options up there just baffles me more and more by each game goes.
No, I think the idea was that we would have had someone else and it hasn't come off. And then they've looked at it and thought, well, let's let him go anyway, because until January, we've got Cenk Tosun, who's not great, but he'll do for like 2 months, between transfer windows. And frankly, he might not do, but I think that might have been the thinking. He's a placeholder, isn't he? He's not going to be there. He's going to go either in January or he's going to, when a new striker comes in, maybe, or he'll go in the summer. But that role in the squad is currently what he's holding, that sort of like back up to Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin's going to play as long as he's fit. So the bench striker is literally to come in if Calvert-Lewin needs taken off or if we need to, change tack up front. But he hasn't done anything. But I think it's harsh. He has just come back from, a bad injury. So he's not going to come on and set the world. I wouldn't have set the world alight fully fit. So I think it's a bit harsh to kick him. But everyone else, they haven't got that excuse.
No, I'm not. It isn't much blaming Cenk. It's more to do with the process of only having Cenk from behind.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the fact that we're ever in positions where we're desperate for players to return from long-term injuries because you can never expect players to recover quickly. Even, dare I say, Andre Gomez, I mean, like we were pinning our hopes on him when he was out with a broken ankle for a couple of months, and obviously he hasn't come back, and he hasn't really done anything since he came back. But that's the kind of thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, Gabaman," like they're gonna be like that with him, and like as soon as there's a player they haven't seen in the team for ages, they start worshipping them as soon as like we have a bad game.
I saw people even after the game on Saturday saying how much we miss Andre Gomez and the team. Well, I watched him the week before, and as bad as Sigurdsson and all that were on Saturday, he was by far the worst the week before.
That's one of the worst individual displays I've seen for Everton, probably the worst one comfortably this season.
I think it could be the second worst I've seen since Alcaraz and Kiev.
Oh, God.
Is that bad?
Honestly, that extra midfield spot, like even when we were playing well, that was up for grabs. Because Sigurdsson's been poor there, Gomez has been poor there. I could see Tom Davies getting a game there soon because the other two haven't done it. And obviously there's I don't think we'll ever rely on Delph. He's never fit, is he? But Gabaman, if he does come back and he can stay fit, he might be the ticket. I haven't even got a clue what he's like. I can't even remember that game he played. But Gomez and Sigurdsson have been fighting it out since the start of the season, but neither of them, even when we were playing well, have really made a case for it.
The issue I've really got with this midfield issue is that people who I've seen all over social media think we're crying out for some attacking midfielder to be in there, whereas do Liverpool play with an attacking midfielder? Our attacking midfielder is James, and he plays off the right. We need battlers in the midfield to win the ball back. We've got that with Decore and Allen higher up, but we need someone to sit in front of the back four and do it.
Needs a Gareth Barry type player, a proper number 6. Like we're playing Allen there, and I've said it all along. Allen and Decore don't want to sit; they want to get about the pitch. They want to run around tackling. It doesn't we don't need a number 10 to go in there. We've got, as you say, James. We need someone who will sit in front of that back four and let the other two go and cover the areas in midfield. We're using Allen in a way I don't think suits him.
No, I would agree. We need someone to dictate the play from in front of our back four, as well as put out fires in front of our back four. And until we get that player, I wonder if Mason Holgate could do it in the short term. But again, you're taking a risk with that, aren't you? I would probably do that. I'd probably play Holgate, Allen, and Decore, but I've Mina and Keane. I'll be comfortable with that. But then people are saying you're going too defensive, but we're not crying out for a number 10 at all.
No, the last thing we need is another number 10, because strictly speaking, I think Alex Iwobi's a number 10 as well. And
yeah. So is Bernard, really. Bernard's not a traditional winger.
Yeah, I think if anyone, we could use another winger.
Someone like Ismail Assar, for me, someone with direct pace.
He's exactly what we need. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't throw a cheeky bid in for him before the championship deadline closed, but
depends whether your class 40 million is cheeky, because I think we would have all day. It's just not going to come cheap. He's going to be the Charleston money. If we want him, or if anyone does, it's going to be the Charleston money, and we didn't have that at the time.
No, I agree. He's destined for really good things, Ismail Assar. But we do need someone of his ilk, and the lads with Crepin Diaz or someone like that. He'd have been about 15 million. Probably would have turned into a Assar level player in a year. Just someone with direct pace. That's why I think that our next signing should be, because as much as we got Richarlison, we need more pace in key areas, and until we get them off.
James definitely doesn't bring that.
No, but he doesn't have to, because he's the creative spark. Well, we need someone. We've got Richarlison, but we need other players in and around the team with mobility, and that when Richarlison doesn't play, we do look really, really slow, and that's why I said Gordon, because he's got a yard of pace.
Not Isco wouldn't fix though, is it?
Oh my God.
We shouldn't be paying money for him. He's a very good player, but if we're restricted to a few players in the next coming window, there'll be areas I'd buy over Isco.
Without a doubt. Mm-hmm. But of course, in the more short term, we move on to Fulham after the international break. It's one of them. How would you feel going into that? We'll obviously have pretty much the whole squad available to us again after the break.
If we don't beat them, I'll join the pitchforks, because they are pretty dire. But like I said, it should be a game where the mentality is clean sheet, and then we will score goals past them, I think. But we need to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's maybe what Carlo will be doing over the international break, is drilling this team into being a bit more defensively resolute.
Exactly. We're not going to do anything this season we don't keep clean sheets. It sounds basic and pretty limited, but we need to start putting clean sheets together on the spin if we're going to do anything, because even if we're conceding 2 goals at the game at the very least, at the moment, and there is absolutely no way to play.
Yeah, definitely not.
By the way, did you see Jake Humphries saying he got a text from Sam Allardyce saying he's not happy with the Premier League, the quality of the Premier League defending, as if he's a master of defending? It's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, remember that time when Sam Allardyce made us concede 5 goals?
In a half, weren't it?
Yeah, half time, we were 5-1 down, I think.
Yeah,
Great.
we were playing 5 defenders and 2 old midfielders at the time as well. Master of defence, Sam Allardyce there.
You can say absolutely not, and I don't care.
Oh, he's the Donald Trump of football, him.
I don't even mind.
Hopefully, he follows Donald Trump on the road to no return.
He's already on, and people don't want to take the chance with someone like Sam Allardyce. Even when the Newcastle job came, Steve Bruce is a lot more palatable than Sam Allardyce.
We'll leave it at that anyway, guys. We'll finish on that bombshell. Let us know your opinions on this game, of course, guys, and let us know how you feel. Like, obviously, moving on to the next game against Fulham after the break, and can we bounce back? Drop us a comment below and let us know what you're thinking. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content. And until next time, thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.